Warren Sullivan sat in the corner booth at Riverside Bistro, watching the door with weary resignation. This was the 8th blind date in 6 months. The absolute last one, he'd promised himself. At 64, recently retired from his position as CEO of a pharmaceutical company, Warren had more money than purpose. His children, worried about him rattling around alone in his big house, had decided he needed a companion. Each setup had been a disaster in its own way. Women who saw dollar signs instead of a person. Women who wanted to travel the world on his dime. Women who were perfectly nice but with whom he shared nothing in common. This one was arranged by his daughter-in-law. "She's a teacher, Dad, very down to earth. I think you'll really like her." He'd heard that before. The woman who approached his table was in her late 50s, he guessed. She had gentle eyes and wore a simple cream sweater. She looked nervous but dignified. "Warren?" she asked softly. "That's me. You must be Helen." She slid into the booth across from him. Up close he could see the worry lines around her eyes, the tired grace of someone who'd lived a full, challenging life. "I should tell you up front," Warren said, deciding to be honest. "This is my last blind date. Nothing personal against you, I'm just tired of the whole process." Helen's expression shifted to something like relief. "I understand completely. This is actually my first blind date. And probably my last. I only agreed because my sister wouldn't stop pestering me." Warren felt a small smile tug at his lips. "At least we're honest with each other." "Always the best policy," Helen agreed. They ordered coffee, made awkward small talk. Warren found himself going through the motions, waiting for a polite amount of time to pass so he could leave without being rude. Then Helen said something that stopped him cold. "Warren, before you decide to cut this evening short, I need to tell you something. You once helped my daughter. I've wanted to thank you for years, but I never had the chance until now." Warren's mind raced. "I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't know your daughter." "You don't know her by name," Helen said carefully. "But 12 years ago, you helped her when she needed it most. She was 16. She'd gotten into trouble at school, made some bad choices. The counselor wanted to expel her. But you intervened." Warren's breath caught. He remembered now. His company had funded a program at the local high school, providing mentorship and second chances for at-risk students. He'd personally reviewed cases, made final decisions on who got help. "The program," he said slowly. "You're talking about the Fresh Start initiative." Helen nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "My daughter was Sarah Mitchell. I was a single mom, working 2 jobs. Sarah was angry, acting out because her father had left us. She'd started skipping school, hanging around the wrong crowd. When she got caught with marijuana on campus, the school wanted to expel her." She took a shaky breath. "Your program gave her a second chance. You personally funded her therapy, her tutoring, even helped her get into community college. She turned her whole life around because someone believed in her." Warren felt emotion rising in his throat. He remembered Sarah now, a scared, defiant teenager who'd sat in his office trying to act tough while her hands shook with fear. "How is she now?" he asked. "She's a social worker," Helen said, pride evident in her voice. "She works with at-risk youth, helping kids like she used to be. She has 2 children of her own. A good life. All because you gave her a chance when no one else would." "I didn't do it alone," Warren said quietly. "There were counselors, mentors, teachers, but you funded it, you made it possible. And you cared enough to meet with each kid personally. Sarah said you looked her in the eye and told her you believed she could be better than her worst mistake. No one had ever said that to her before." Warren remembered that conversation. He'd seen so many kids through that program over the years, hundreds of second chances given. He'd never known how many of them actually worked out. "I'm glad she's doing well," Warren said, truly. "When my sister told me about this blind date, told me your name, I couldn't believe it. I've tried to find you over the years to say thank you, to tell you what your kindness meant. But you were always so busy, so important. I never got the chance." She reached across the table and took his hand. "Warren, I know you're tired of blind dates. I know this probably isn't what you were looking for tonight. But I needed you to know that what you did mattered. You changed my daughter's life. You changed mine too, because I got to watch her become the woman I always knew she could be. Warren felt tears in his eyes. He'd spent 40 years building a company, making money, achieving success. He'd thought that was his legacy. But this woman was telling him his real legacy was a scared 16-year-old girl who'd grown up to help other kids. "Thank you for telling me," he managed. "I didn't know. The program ended years ago when I shifted focus to other projects. I always wondered what happened to those kids." "Most of them are probably doing well," Helen said, "because you saw them as people worth saving." They sat in silence for a moment, hands still connected across the table. "Helen, can I ask you something? Why did you agree to this date? Really?" She smiled softly. "Because my sister said you were a good man who'd lost his wife and was lonely. She said you needed someone who understood loss. And I do understand. My ex-husband left when Sarah was 14. I know what it's like to rebuild your life alone, to wonder if there's room for anything besides survival." "Is there?" Warren asked. "I'm starting to think so," Helen said. "Sarah's grown. My job at the library is stable. I have time now, space. I didn't think I wanted to fill it with anyone, but maybe I was just scared." "I'm scared too," Warren admitted, "of being used, of being seen as a wallet instead of a person, of trying again and being disappointed." "I don't want your money," Helen said firmly. "I live simply. I have enough. What I've been missing is connection. Someone to talk to about books and ideas. Someone who understands that life is complicated and messy and beautiful anyway." Warren looked at this woman who'd raised a daughter alone, who'd worked 2 jobs, who'd never given up, who'd taken the time to thank him for something he'd done 12 years ago. "I was ready to leave before you even sat down," he confessed. "I had a whole speech prepared about being tired and needing to go. And now I'd like to stay, if that's all right with you." They stayed for 3 hours, talked about books and family and the strange paths life takes. Helen told him about her work at the library, her love of mystery novels. Warren told her about his late wife, about the loneliness of retirement, about missing having purpose. "You still have purpose," Helen said gently. "You just have to look for it differently now, not in boardrooms and quarterly earnings, in small moments, in connections." "Like this one?" Warren asked. "Like this one," Helen agreed. As he drove her home that night, Warren felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope, not for grand achievements or business success, but for simple companionship, for someone who saw him, really saw him, and valued the person instead of the portfolio. "Would you like to have dinner again?" he asked at her door. "Somewhere quieter, where we can talk more." "I'd like that very much," Helen said. 6 months later, Warren stood in Helen's small apartment, helping her pack books. They were moving in together, not to his mansion but to a comfortable townhouse they'd chosen together, something that felt like both of them. Sarah came to help, bringing her children. She hugged Warren tight. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for 12 years ago, and for making my mom happy now." Warren hugged her back. "Thank you for giving me another chance to get this right." That evening, sitting in their new home surrounded by boxes, Helen leaned against Warren's shoulder. "You know what the irony is," she said. "You were ready to leave that night, your last blind date ever, and I almost didn't go because I was terrified." "What changed your mind?" Warren asked. "I remembered what you told Sarah 12 years ago. That we're all better than our worst fears, that taking a chance on connection is always worth the risk." Warren smiled. "I said that? According to Sarah, you did, and you were right. Sometimes our last chance becomes our best chance. Sometimes the thing we're ready to quit is exactly what we need to continue. Sometimes a simple thank you changes everything. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment about a second chance that transformed your life. Sometimes the endings we plan aren't nearly as beautiful as the beginnings we don't expect.